Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So today we will have the lecture 21, that's the hydroponics, a soilless culture for cultivation of crops, because this is gaining momentum, the hydroponic systems. So here we can grow using hydroponics. Now we can grow the crops under the well management, the optimum management conditions, and also you can get some quality crops, quality vegetables especially. Those are free from pesticides. And this thing, any family, they can do in their courtyard even. So having a small system, they can grow their crops. For this, you don't require any soil, only the nutrient solutions that should meet the requirement of the crop, and the systems that make a continuous flow of solutions through this pipe, where the crop gets the nutrients as per the requirement, and we can get a good we don't apply any chemical pesticides. So we get some quality vegetables for the need of the family, like kitchen garden. If somebody has space kitchen garden, they can grow. But it happens that in cities, people may not have space outside to grow some vegetables. So now the concept of nutritional garden or the kitchen garden, and to have is assurance or about the quality of your vegetables what you are eating. So usually the residents prefer to have their own garden where the vegetables can be grown, but it's because of space limitations. Many may not have the proper space to have the vegetables. Sometimes the people use the rooftop for growing vegetables. And this is as a hydroponic systems that can be done on rooftop or in front of the house, the small space, because it's a vertical systems where you don't require the horizontal growth, where the systems can be arranged such a way that vegetables can be produced using these hydroponic systems, and that can meet the at least to some extent the family need for the vegetables. So we'll discuss briefly about this one. So this is a continuous hydroponic system, it's a continuous flow solution culture, where the nutrient film technique, where the nutrient solutions is supplied without any soil. The crop, because crop needs nutrients for its growth and development. If those amount of nutrients supplied through the solutions, and that meets its requirement, and we can get proper growth and the development of this crop. So it is a much easier to automate. There are also some the static solution culture, but the nutrient film technique is a continuous flow system is much better than the static solution culture. So it's much easier to automate than the static solution culture, because of sampling and adjustment your temperature and nutrient concentration can be made in a large storage tank. In case of this, a pipe to pipe, the solutions you allowed to flow the solutions with certain the flow rate, and that's a continuous process. There is less use of water, and those solutions are recirculated. After some days, maybe every week, you need to check the pH of the solutions, because here only the maintenance of pH is a challenge, because when the crops take nutrients, uptake of nutrients, that makes some changes inside the pH of the solutions. And if the pH is very high pH or low pH, that affects the availability of other nutrients in the systems. So regular monitoring of pH, and also monitoring of the specific nutrients as per the need of the crops, the concentration of nutrients. So it needs some type of automations, like sensing technology, where the nutrients contents in the solution can be monitored through the flow, as the nutrients flows through the systems, and also in the tank as it changes over the time, so that it can be nutrient supplement or the replacement can be done on time, to avoid any adverse effect or to have a better productions. So there are three things that are important for the continuous flow solution culture, or the nutrient film technique, that is channel slope. The channel slope is given, the normal slope is given, so that the flow should be proper. There should not be water stagnations. So if there is a water stagnation, then the root growth gets affected. To avoid this water stagnation, there is a continuous normal natural flow. The slope of the pipe may be around 1:30 to 1:40. That much of slope could be maintained to provide you a flow of the solution. And the flow rate is around 1 to 2 liters per minute only. So it's 1 to 2 liters per minute is a normal flow. And the channel length also important. Channel length should not exceed 10 to 15 meters. Why the 10 to 15 meters? Because there is the longer of the channel is this is the hydroponic system. So how you are growing the crops. So is a maybe the PVC pipe. So the holes are created, and there is a media only where you have to the planting media, which can support the root systems, and the planting media are very porous systems, which cannot hold return water with these very minimum retention of water, and this hole fully aerated, and through that water can flow, and root also comes up well with this porous media. So planting media is given, and there the seedlings are planted, and this only solution flows through this pipe. And the length of solution that we see the slope is a normal slope of 1:30. That assures the movement of the solutions, and also flow rate is around 1 to 2 liters per minute. And channel length in comfortable 10 to 15 meters should be channel length. In cases why you are making channel length 10 to 15 meter means if there is a longer the channel, then nutrient reaches at the end of the channel that may not be sufficient to meet that requirement of the crop. So those crops may suffer from the nutrient deficiency if the channel length is higher. But what happens in other cases, if you have the provision can be the longer channel length, then maybe the intermediate or the on-site, maybe intermediate nutrient solution can be set there so that the crop does not suffer from nutrient stress. So that can be done. The nutrient feeding technology mechanism can be done in between. If that is done, then the crop doesn't suffer from any type of nutrient stress. So this is a very sophisticated system, we can say, because we cannot keep it outside. If you keep it in an open field, what happens now if there is a heavy downpour, especially the rainfall region, high rainfall, the crop may get spoiled because there is no soil systems. This is supported through a porous media. The crop and if there is a heavy rainfall, the crop gets spoiled. At the same time, if there is a wind blow also, if there is open field, there is a heavy wind also, the system get damaged. This is only horizontal one. There is also vertical one where the crop can be grown at different layers, being a vertical growth. So in cities, in the households, in metros, they can have a vertical system like a triangle shape, so that the vertical system one, the more number of crops can be grown in a triangular shape, vertical shape. So that's why channel length we keep around 10 to 15 meters. And importantly, there should not be any, only the holes are there for placing the seedlings. The other things should not be open. If you keep it open some places, the pipe is open some other places, what happens, there may be growth of algal growth, may be there, green algal growth. And the algal growth chokes, blocks the movement of solutions. That should be avoided. So rest only the cap should fit the hole. The hole should be such that the seedling cap should fit the hole. There should not be any space for the for the sunlight to enter here. In that case, what happens algal growth is there that blocks the movement of the solutions to the pipe. This planting media, the seedling we plant, there are different media used for the planting. So those are the expanded clay pebbles. So the clay pebbles are there, is a very porous and lightweight. So they are made with the high temperature, carrying the high temperature. This is also available in the market. Because having the clay pebbles and you grow this seedling, keep inside the pot and grow the initial seedling here. And this is a very porous one, through which the of course aerated and the water solution can move very freely through this the porous cup. This is one type of material, the expanded clay pebbles. And we have also grow stones. I think you might have seen grow stones. Grow stones are also available, even if you can find the parks, many parks also. They have the grow stones. This is also the purpose is having the media, the growing media, so that it cannot store water for longer periods. If you have the water stagnation, the crop will suffer. and give the proper aerations, and also as a solution movement, nutrient solution movement, it should not block the movement of the solutions. The expanded clay pebbles are used. Grow stones also similarly they are used. And the very common natural source you can find the coco peat. Coco peat is is a natural one. This can be used well. This is because coco peat, I think you might be knowing coco peat. This is known as a coir, or the coco. This is a leftover material from the fiber of the coconut, the outermost shell of the coconut. So when the coconut is selling process, this material is removed and that is chopped into small pieces, and that is made a coco peat, because and this is 100% natural. And it can be colonized with trichoderma. The trichoderma is a fungi. So that is known as a biological control method. You can see that protect the roots from any type of the outward the pest and diseases, and this also stimulates the root growth. It is extremely difficult to overwater coir due to the perfect air water retention, because like the purpose is not to have such materials. It should be well drained, because once there is a in how there is water is there, it should not retain water for longer periods, and should be well aerated. And coco peat is one of the examples. It has a good natural one. It has a high carbon exchanges, meaning that it can store unused minerals to be released to plant as and when it requires, which is not possible other sources like your clay pebbles or the grow stones. No, this may not have. But coco peat, that's the advantage, having it increases the carbonation capacity. If there is unwanted materials, it can be which root does not want to take it. So this can be stored in the coco peat itself, and also this can be colonized, inoculated with the trichoderma fungi, which it stimulates the growth of the crop. At the same time, they protect crop from any pests and diseases. It can be used for the drip irrigation as well. So we have tried in our farm using coco peat, where coco peat can be also good materials where you can follow drip irrigation. If you are going for the NFP technique, nutrient film technique, continuous flow solution, it's fine. And also you can go for the drip irrigation. Through drip irrigation also coco peat can work much better. You can at least can hold water for certain periods as compared to the clay pebbles. Clay pebbles can't hold water, but coco peat can hold water for some periods, and we have seen that it can work well for the drip irrigation systems. Same for the rice husk also. This is also because from the rice milling industry, when there is that's a husk layers, so that can be used for growing these hydroponic systems. And these rice husks or the coco peat, they are used usually in the large scale use in nursery. When there is a nursery, some commercial nurseries are there, they do make nursery, and also they put in the open field. If you are keeping open field and you have the materials like coco peat and this, there is a well drained, because you cannot keep the soil or the vermicompost, even vermicompost, for growing nursery. If you are using soil, because it can hold during the heavy rainfalls, it can hold excess amount of water, which is not good for the initial the seedling growth. The seedling gets spoiled with the huge water, high content of water in the soil. So you don't use the soil or even the vermicompost mix for the nursery, where you use the coco peat or the rice husks. Can be they can hold water for longer periods, and it's a well drained and drainage materials. At the same time also, if there is they can retain some amount of water, and they don't require the frequent irrigations like other materials. They can contain some water for some periods. In case of there is a stress because of there is no movement of water, then the crop can grow without any adverse effect. That's the advantage of having the coco peat or rice husks. They can hold water, some water for certain periods, so for the use of the crop. But other materials like clay pebbles or growing stone, they cannot retain any water. This is well drained. So this is well utilized for hydroponic systems. But we have seen we have used coco peat. Through coco peat, we can use the drip irrigation that works much better. That has a better effect as compared to this the clay pebbles. And the other materials, the very conventional materials are used in hydroponic, either the perlites and vermiculite. These are all available in the market. Those are going for the gravels also. especially ornamental crops, they use this one. They don't really any say, high aerated, good drainage. Water can be retained here. Perlite is a volcanic rocks that can be used for the hydroponic systems, and vermiculite is a mineral that has been separated until it expands into light pebbles. So these are all available as rock materials, and these are available in market for use in the hydroponic systems. Gravels also, gravels, it might have these parks also out there. Gravels also used in case of some ornamental crops. You need sometimes people to inject nutrients using these gravels. Gravels, there are many ornamental crops that are using gravels because they think that is a well drained, clean. It can be sterilized also. You can reuse it actually. If once the crop is you can once one set of harvest is over, those can be cleaned using the rinsed with the bleaching agents that can be cleaned and can be used for other crops. So these are some of the well-established the planting materials, you can say, the crop, the planting materials used in hydroponic systems. But natural ones are coco peat and rice husk. The coco peat rice husk can be used, but think that when there is a solution of the movement of the solutions, it can work better. Also, it works much better. You are going for the drip irrigation, hydroponics using drip irrigation. Instead of the continuous flow systems, we can provide the drip irrigations and can provide this small amount of water. And for those purpose, the coco peat rice husk found to be the best one. Because we can use only drip irrigation. When you are going for drip irrigations, you have to use the materials only coco peat or the rice husk. And the nutrient solutions, as you see, the nutrient solutions are the usually you are using in case of hydroponics the inorganic nutrient solutions. So we are not that much of successful for the organic solutions. Inorganic solutions are used, but we have tried for the organic solutions. We are somehow we need to go for the selection of the crops for the organic solutions. But there are markets inorganic nutrient solutions are available, or you can prepare inorganic nutrient solutions for these hydroponic systems.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, will there not be a huge amount of water contamination, sir, if you are using inorganic hydroponic solutions?
No, it's a contaminant because only you are supplying the nutrients as per the requirement of the crop. We are not supplying the excess amounts as per the need of the crop.
Okay, sir. Sir, and you told that in those channels, the crops which are in the end part do not get sufficient nutrients, sir. But then, the water is in continuous flow only, right? So, it's contradicting, sir. I can't understand.
Yeah, because now water is because now once you are supplying nutrient from one point only, okay, the nutrient goes to other end. So by the moment it reaches other end, maybe it's also regularly taken of the crops at the beginning. When the crops are at the initial stages, they do take nutrients. And when the continuous flow is there, no, and the solution reaches at the tail end, it may be lack of nutrients because of the uptake of nutrient by the crops at the beginning. So what is say once there is solution flow is there, up to 10 to 15 meters it's fine. So if your pipe is longer pipe, you can do that one, but in between you should have the feeding mechanism of nutrient.
Okay, sir. Okay.
That can be done. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is a problem with when you go for inorganic solutions. So unlike because the soil has what happens, soil is like a buffer, you can say, the buffering the soil capacity. So even the soil you apply pesticide, many times the pesticide may not be available for the crop because the soil has its own action. If soil is a good quality, high buffering capacity, then there is an absorption of pesticide by the soils. It doesn't allow the roots for the uptake of the pesticides. Because of high cotton exchange capacity, soil having high cotton exchange capacity, which is not possible in case of the hydroponic systems. No, hydroponic nutrient solution don't have any cotton exchange capacity from the from clay particles or organic matter as in soil. The absence of CEC means that when there is less CEC, then pH regulation becomes difficult. pH and nutrient concentration can change more rapidly in case of hydroponic solutions. So that is very challenging because you have to monitor the pH regularly, maybe every week must. So that's what it needs the many automation systems where there will be auto monitoring. The pH goes certain level, so there is signal should come. This can be automated when there is a change in pH. So that monitoring can be done automatically. Auto detection should be there. So we can take measures to control the pH again to add solutions so that the pH should not drop drastically very frequently. So that's very important for this one. Also, selective absorption of nutrients by plants often imbalance the amount or of counter ions in solution, because some plants may have selective for a particular nutrient. If there is a selection of particular nutrients, and it may interfere with the uptake of other nutrients as well. The cation imbalance can happen. So that leads to deficiency of other cations. So that has to be taken into account. The crop we are growing. So this research are going on this, because people are also doing this one. When you are growing certain crops, it may have the requirement of specific type of nutrient, and there may be no deficit of other nutrients as well. That has to be taken into account. And this, as I discussed earlier, the pH is very important. So different pH, the presence of water contaminants, nutrients such as iron, some elements can precipitate, and it may not be available for the crop. So this is a routine adjustment pH, buffering the solutions, or using some of the agents which can avoid this this type of the deficiency. That has to be taken account. This is a regular monitoring, and it needs some type of the automations. Through automations, we can control the nutrient solutions. We can see the deficiency. We can see the drop in pH or any specific nutrients. So through sensing technique that can be employed here, so that it does not require always the human interference. So automatically it can be known whether pH has dropped or where there is deficient symptoms. Also, as image processing, you can see from the crop appearance, you can see from the solutions, you can measure, you can judge from the solutions if the deficiency. So this can be taken into account. And as you see the solutions, as you say, we need to meet the requirement of the crops. Like there are some acceptable concentration of individual nutrient solutions in general for the vegetables growth. So nitrogen should be 100 to 120 ppm, phosphorus 30 to 100 ppm, potassium 100 to 400 ppm, calcium 200 to 500 ppm, magnesium 50 to 100 ppm, sulfur 50 to 100 ppm, iron 2 to 5 ppm, zinc 0.05 to 1.0 ppm, copper 0.01 to 1 ppm, manganese 0.05 to 1 ppm, boron 0.03 to 10 ppm, and molybdenum 0.001 to 0.05 ppm. So these are the nutrient solution in general requirement for most of the vegetables, but for the vegetable wise there may be specific requirement for specific nutrients that has to be taken into account. Accordingly, you have to prepare the nutrient solutions. So we can prepare nutrient solution. There are different solutions available here, like Hoagland solutions. That is one. Say hydroponic solutions. So we can do chemical solutions, chemical compounds. We can make the solutions as per the need of the crop. So that can be prepared. So Hoagland solution, one of the solutions that is used for the hydroponic systems. So as we are saying, organic hydroponic solutions, so it's somehow challenging because it depends upon a particular source of the organic fertilizers, and organic fertilizer depends upon the quality of the input raw materials or the waste materials that is used, that indicate the final contents of the organic fertilizers. So we are used in our farm the organic solutions, where we prepared from the vermicompost and making the vermicompost enrichment. We did enrich the value of the vermicompost by adding some of the natural rock minerals, and we prepared the vermicompost tea by solution of vermicompost that we have used for the as a organic solutions. So I can show you that is also one of the system aeroponics. Aeroponics like hydroponics. Hydroponics, you have the continuous flow of solutions. In aeroponics, there is no continuous flow of solutions where the nutrient kept in a tank, and nutrient flows, and there is spraying systems with the pressure. So we do spray the continuous spraying of the solution to the root systems. Root is not dipped in water, unlike hydroponic systems. So in hydroponic systems, roots are dipped in water and the continuous flow of solution. Here there is no flow of solutions. Regular spraying of solution to the root system, so that root is kept wet throughout, and also root, because of the attachment of this the othering of the nutrients solutions to the roots, it can take the nutrients and have the crop. This is also one of the good system, because now this can be like scientists from NASA, they want to have the hydroponic systems or the aeroponic systems in also moon. That can be that trying this one, this can be grown in the other planets, like having this aeroponic or the hydroponic systems. And what we have done in our farm, that we have the hydroponic systems. We are very successful in growing lettuce crop. Lettuce crop comes up very well with the hydroponic solutions, and we have tried different solutions like organic solutions, inorganic solutions, and combinations of organic and inorganic solutions. What we have seen, lettuce comes up excellent in either organics or the organic and the inorganic solutions. That we have got a very good harvest of lettuce, even if the production is much higher than as compared to the soil cultivations using hydroponics. And also we have grown tomato. So tomato, somehow we are not growth wise, we are not that much successful as of the soil cultivation, but we have got a good harvest of tomato using these hydroponic systems. But still we are trying how we can be more successful for the tomato crop using organic and the inorganic solutions. So these are some of our setups in our farm, where we have made, because automations of the flow of nutrient solutions, this pipe, and we can get this much of harvest of as a lettuce. Lettuce comes up exceptionally well in these hydroponic systems. And some students, they are working in these hydroponic systems in our farm, and we have this. That is what the concept comes. Vertical farming in cities. So cities, because now we want to avoid the transportation of vegetables from the rural area to cities. You can have a vertical farming systems using hydroponics or aeroponic concepts in a vertical farming in the very close to cities, because many developed countries, they have these vertical farming systems. So most of the food security or the vegetables needs of the cities are is supplied from the vertical farms. So this is what purpose if you can have the vertical farming system very close to your cities. So you can minimize the transportation cost of vegetables from the rural area or the farming community to the cities. At the same time, it is also adaptive to climate change. So once you are minimizing transportation cost, so you can minimize the emission of greenhouse gas to atmosphere. And during transportation also there is a loss of foods, damage to foods. Food sometimes vegetables are most of the perishable items. So if you don't provide proper environment, proper atmosphere during transportations, there is a food spoilage. It's there. So having this vertical farming very close to city, it can meet the requirement of the city peoples and the good quality of vegetables. That's what demand is there, and people will prefer to have the produce from the locality rather than having the produce from the far places where there is no identity what quality is there. So in case vertical farming, you can have everything, all the vegetables you can grow. The systems like this in the ground floor, you can have completely like aquaponic systems where the fishes can grow, because the systems like can have a solar panels and the rainwater harvesting structure. You can have also lift here, people can go inside, and the ground floor can be diverted for the aquaponics where the fish can grow, and this water can be recirculated for growing crops here as different floors. So different floors are there, different floors will have different crops. You'll have the vegetables, a different type of vegetables, and also you can go for the aeroponic systems there. So vegetables can be grown, all are glass system. This is a good amount of solar radiation, and people are trying also the LED light also, which that can, because you need photosynthesis, you need the light, and that can light arrangement can be given there. And here many developed countries, they have this vertical farming. They have vertical farming very close to cities, and the production from the vertical farming that can meet the partial food security of the people living in cities. It's there. And here the assurance that you get a good quality of produce, and also from the city point of view, as aesthetic point of view, it looks good also, good for the city, gives a value to the cities. So this type of things should come up in India as well, because if you many developed country, it is very common in Canada and US and Japan as well. In Australia, of course, they have in Europe also many countries they have the vertical farming. But most of the vegetables are from the vertical farm that can meet the requirement of the city people.